All right, I've laid the drag. We're ready for Liesel to work it. Pull out my slip rope, putting slip knot around my wrist. Gonna wind the free end through the O-ring on her collar. Slide it under her nearest armpit. Now I'm gonna point at where the duck was sitting on the ground. I'm gonna blow her down with a halt whistle, which is my universal signal for track instead of search. I'll get her going a few steps in the right direction and we'll see how she does. Ready? Yep. Good girl. Good. Make sure they get a good nose full and that they're confident there's something there before you release them. And then don't release them until you know they're on the correct line. Drag is about 100 meters long. As far as how far to drag for your dog, it'll vary depending on your confidence level in them. I hunted 35 days this last season with this dog, so I'm pretty comfortable with her going out at good distance. I put in 3 or 4 different curves. On test day it'll just be 2, but I do think it's valuable to make training harder. If your dog hesitates at all at the end, make sure that you're ready with the whistle to call them if they're struggling with coming back to you. You can see she hesitated for a second, not knowing what to do, but now she's working her way back. Good girl, good. Good girl. Very nice. Good job. You'll find with drags that once you get them going out a short distance, it's pretty easy to get them out to that 200 and 300 meter range, what will be required for the HCP and the VGP. Liesel, come here. We're working in a less than ideal field. There's a lot of stickers, that's why she was limping. It's really dry, difficult set conditions. But again, she carefully worked the track. She's a little more methodical than most. Your dog may be sprinting. If your dog's working the track too quickly, you might have to resort to putting them on some sort of check cord or long lead and working it with them to get them to slow down. Also, just putting in more turns can help out a lot too, to force them to make sure that they're doing that. One thing I do too whenever I'm laying drags, I try to make sure that it's a slightly different distance every time and then different number of angles or type of angle that I put in. I'm still putting in gentle S-curve angles for her since she's fairly new to this, but as we get further into the summer and the training season, I'll be putting in much sharper angles to make sure she's hitting them all the time. And I probably should have mentioned we got a strong south wind today, so I made sure that I laid the drag downwind to the south. Try to always lay downwind. Occasionally you can lay some crosswind drags as well. We do have to do that as judges sometimes at tests, so your dog should be prepared for both, but never ever lay drags into the wind. All right, now I'd like to introduce another new subject. So this is called the independent or the free search and retrieve of planted game or freshly shot game. So at a VGP, at the master level test, the judges will place either a bird that you brought from home or a fresh shot chucker or something to that effect out in the middle of the field when you and the dog are not watching. You'll then be asked to bring your dog up and just hunt the area like you normally would, just a free search, if you will. And then you can't say anything once you release the dog for the search. The dog is expected to find the game and then, without any influence from you as a handler, pick it up and then come in and deliver it to hand. So you can't give a fetch command, you can't give a recall command, a come command. The dog just has to pick it up and bring it. And this is supposed to simulate a number of different hunting situations, like maybe if you're hunting and you shot a bird and that particular dog didn't see it drop, you know, we want to make sure they would still be able to go find it. Or let's say that somebody was hunting in the field before you, knocked down a bird that they didn't ever recover. At least then if your dog stumbles across it, or an antler, or anything else that we consider desirable, the dog should just pick it up and bring it to you without any more encouragement or commands necessary. So when I did the duck drag, I also laid the pigeon out over in the field over here to set up for this independent search. I'm going to be walking away from the camera, so I can't explain as we're going, but I'll turn the camera and you can just watch. And basically I'm going to release her like we were hunting, and I expect her to win the pigeon on her own as she's quartering or as she's searching. I'm not going to say a word unless I absolutely need to. I'm going to expect her to bring it in. If your dog hesitates at all, do give a fetch command for them to pick it up. And if they don't bring it in, do immediately give a come command, because we're just training for it at this point. But no, on test day you can't do either of those things, but be ready to make corrections now if necessary to prepare your dog for the test. All right? So forgive me as I fumble with the camera a little bit. All right, Liesel, here. So we're just gonna hunt. I release her with a go whistle. All the stickers in this field. I'll have to find a better spot, but hopefully you could see in the video. I'm not sure if it was in the shot or not, but she was out, she winded it, she went up to the pigeon, and then she stood over it and looked at me like she wasn't quite sure what to do. I gave one verbal fetch command, she picked it up, and she brought it in, but then she was trying to avoid what she thought were sticker patches, so I did have to give her a come whistle as well to bring it in. So if test day, if the VGP was today, she would have failed, but that's why we're starting it now in February, so by the time we get to our VGP in September, this will be a piece of cake. So anyways, as you keep working on this with your dogs, just randomly throw one of your dead birds out in the field when the dog's not looking, bring them back in, have them work around, make sure you know where the bird is so that you can notice if the dog does try to avoid the retrieve in any instance, and then make sure that they do pick it up and bring it into you. So we'll be doing this randomly throughout the summer. This isn't a drill that I do often, but it's important to do every now and then so that they're prepared for the VGP. All right, I think with that, we will have to stop the video. I do want to review that independent forest search since we haven't been able to do that for 2 days. So I'm going to go plant both the pigeon and the duck that I know she likes retrieving